welcome to episode number 6 of the LSR Podcast. My name is Matt Brown, joined each and every week by the brightest minds in all of the gambling industry. This week, I have Dustin Galker, I have Eric Ramsey, two of the very brightest minds. Guys, I feel pretty good. Listen, no Adam this week. We don't have to deal with anybody making us feel uncomfortable about our voices not matching up to, what the masculinity of, his masculinity of voice level must be like a level 11,
Yeah, totally true. I envy his voice, and I feel better because you both sound awful too. So
yes.
Good job. It only took us 6 episodes to get him off of this show. So good work, boys. Good to be here with you.
Actually, Adam is attending a conference. He will have lots to say about that next week, so be sure and tune in, and I'm sure you can get some of his thoughts over there on LegalSportsReport.com as well. As usual, we will talk about what's going on with the states. We will have an interview with former New Jersey State Senator Ray Lesniak, and we will talk about a very popular topic that seems to be making the rounds not only within our little gambling space, guys, but major news outlets picking up on, is sports betting revenue actually underperforming? And we will give our opinions on that. But let's start things off here, Dustin. My beloved home state, Louisiana. What's going on there in the boot?
Aside from you, there's something else is coming out of Louisiana. We have a sports betting bill. It's, if you remember, daily fantasy sports was kind of legalized via a referendum, which allows each parish in the state to legalize DFS. And a bunch of them said yes. So now we're on to a similar bill. It's going to let that happen for sports betting. So we imagine this would be pretty popular with the folks if they were allowed to vote on it. But bill just introduced, so kind of early days there. But another state to add to the ledger for sports betting bills, and we have some more too. It seems like.
Yeah, definitely. About Louisiana here, is it like the DFS bill where it will only be legal in the parishes that actually pass it? Because if we remember, one of the interesting things about Louisiana with the DFS bill was that while well over 92% of the population said yes, there were actual individual parishes that said no, and it actually would not be allowed there.
Yeah, same dynamic, right, Eric?
Yeah, same dynamic. And sorry about the dog in the background.
Having so much fun.
New ones. I can't catch a break over here. Yeah, same dynamic. I think there's 20 tracks and casinos in in Louisiana. Some of them are clumped together in parishes. New Orleans has a couple. So there really only be maybe about 15 parishes that are eligible for this. The way another point, there's this bill has mobile language, but it reads like on-site only. It's a little bit vague. So assuming that it's on-site only, it'd only be in those venues. If it happens to be statewide, it would only be in parishes that approve that. Yes.
Can we just have Eric's dog on instead of Eric from now on? I love the analysis from the dog.
That is good. I think that it is squeaking the toy because it is an approval of Louisiana filing this bill here. So I think that's what's going on. That was the squeak of approval, right?
She has contributed more to this episode than Adam has.
Yes, this is actually incredibly true. Yeah. So as you mentioned, Eric, the casinos in Louisiana are in Shreveport, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, and New Orleans, and that is the population, central of all, basically the entire state. So even though it would only be, legal in the places where there are casinos, that's where everybody lives anyway. So yeah, good stuff there. Let's talk about Arkansas, just a little bit north of Louisiana, but Louisiana made state number 35, Arkansas 36 there, Eric?
Yep, 36 this week. It is one of those states that already has a law on the books. Remember, voters legalized it last year through the referendum. The rules that are being drafted right now, again, appear to read like on-site mobile only. There's a bill working its way through the system that would allow statewide mobile betting. The big highlights of this bill is it's very, very league friendly. It fully empowers the leagues as much as any bill would in the country, including the full 1% integrity fee. And it also has things like a statewide bracket pool. It bans WWE betting and award betting. There's a couple little interesting restrictions in there, but yeah, it's again a very league friendly bill in Arkansas.
How can you have betting without betting on WWE?
And the Special Olympics and dog shows. They're going to just expressly ban dog shows. Can you believe that?
Well, I mean, listen, you cannot bet on WWE here in Nevada either, of course, because it is not a real sporting event and people know exactly what is going to happen there. That is our friends offshore that allow those type of bets here. So very, so Arkansas putting it in wording, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, this is not something people actually take bets on anyway. In legalized, regulated market.
I don't have I'm trying to find the language real quick, but there's actually an interesting clause in this bill that specifically says that events that are deemed to be judged rather than actual athletic contests. There's some new language that I haven't seen in a bill before to specifically legislate around those novelty bets.
Yeah, and Dustin, this is one of the things that we've kind of mentioned on this podcast before, that we're obviously all for sports betting and we're all for, many of the different ways and all for innovation and all for people trying out new things. But there is kind of a little bit of a gray area, kind of a line where I think all three of us feel minimally uncomfortable about bets being taken. So again, not taking bets on a dog show or not taking bets on WWE is perfectly fine with me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to specifically ban them in legislation, that's not a big deal. It's something that is kind of common sense, and regulators would probably do it. Like WWE is an entertainment thing, stage. There's no reason to have betting on the outcome. Dog shows, who cares? I mean, the amount of money that we wagered on dog shows would have to be. Offshore books are not taking dog shows. Maybe they're doing Westminster. I don't know, but it's not really the end of the world.
Well, Eric, we're bringing up dog shows here. Your dog has made a couple of appearances. What kind of dog do you have? And is it good looking enough to be on a dog show?
I mean, I'm biased, but I have the most beautiful dog in the world. Clearly, she's a Doberman Hound mix who just loves squeaky toys, as you guys can probably tell from several episodes of this podcast.
All right, I do have two dogs, and they have yet to make an appearance on the podcast because I lock them in a bedroom like a professional.
We kick our dog out too.
Yes, so. Like a professional, I lock them in a bedroom.
I actually like my dog's company, so that separates me from you guys.
Oh wow, he had to go the low blow there, Dustin. I mean, that's a low blow. Let's stick with the South here. I mean, we had Louisiana, Arkansas, and now Alabama. Dustin, what's going on there?
Roll Tide, yes, let's do it. Alabama's not going to legalize sports betting. Let's start there. It's awesome that there's a bill. Alabama has a Greyhound track and some off-track betting facilities. They don't even have a lottery. This is the same state that can't get it together. It's actually one of the states where DraftKings and FanDuel don't operate because of a negative legal climate. They've never been able to pass the fantasy sports bill. But hey, there's a bill, so that's kind of exciting. I won't even bore you with the details because I don't think it's very, very much. It's kind of pointless to do. Alabama, as a side note, is one of my favorite anecdotes from the 4 or so years I've been watching sports betting hearings. Though it's the lawmaker on the floor famously said during debate on a daily fantasy sports, he threatened to blackmail all his fellow lawmakers who actually bet on Alabama football games illegally. He said, they bet on Alabama football. And that's like I have the whole thing ingrained in my head. I'm like, this is amazing that I'm actually watching this while it's happening, because 99% of sports betting hearings are absolute nonsense. So
yes, and Eric, if people are keeping tabs at home, this brings us to 37 states.
Yeah, it's 37 states with a bill. So only 13 have not considered a bill this year. 3 of those already have sports betting. So that means 10 without a bill or a law. 3 of those have been considering bills. So there's really only 7 states left that just basically have no demonstrable appetite for sports betting.
And despite it going around the Twitter machine, there is no sports betting bill in Alaska. So
there is not an Alaska sports betting bill. Yeah, there's a card room bill that's been floating around for several years that's back up there, but that is not going to lead to sports betting either.
So we're going to have to hashtag fake news.
Hashtag fake news.
All right. Dustin, speaking of, it depends on who you're talking to, whether, I'm not going to get political. Anyway, let's talk about let's talk about another place here that we will have to expand the map if we want to continue on Legal Sports Report, which, by the way, Eric does a fantastic job of updating our interactive map. So be sure and go over there if you want to see what's going on across this great country of ours and in your state. But we're going to have to maybe get a bigger map, huh, Dustin?
Yeah, we got Puerto Rico too. I mean, this is like we're just ticking off everybody this week. U.S. territories are in too. Like PASPA affected them too. They couldn't legalize sports betting, I guess, in theory under the old law. Or so we have a bill in from the governor of Puerto Rico. He looking for new revenue sources. Obviously, Puerto Rico has been hard hit with a debt crisis, Hurricane Maria. Any kind of added infusion of cash would be great. Also, would legalize daily fantasy sports for whatever that's worth. I'm not sure anyone cares about that, but great for DFS industry, I guess, if they get another law in the books. But yeah, sports betting is the key here. Would be obviously cool to see, anywhere with a new sports betting law if they can will it to happen. So the governor being on board seems to be a good sign of that.
Eric, if people were to go to our map on Legal Sports Report, where would they find the news on Puerto Rico? What are you going to do?
We got draw in Microsoft Paint, draw in a little island down there southeast of Florida.
I like it. I'm not very good with the Photoshop, so don't rely on me to do this. I'm terrible at it. So
we need Guam next week.
Dustin, you have in your former life you had Photoshop skills, right? So you can drop.
Yeah, we'll drop that in.
There you go.
I'd like to just volunteer to cover the launches in either of those U.S. territories. If we get sports betting there, I'm happy to go to Guam or Puerto Rico to cover sports betting. Just let me know.
Well, I was going to say we'll get it fired up for you. I mean, you've been to all these exotic places already, so we will certainly continue to send you to those. A place that you don't have to travel to. It is New York. You do live there currently, and each and every week we pretty much have to have our "What the hell is going on in New York" segment. So, what the hell is going on in New York?
Yeah, not much. Unfortunately, we had the budget was finalized over the weekend. We thought maybe there was a chance initially of some mobile betting language being in there. That did not materialize. There is no sports betting language in the budget. So, we've talked about this legislative effort to legalize mobile betting as well that's going on in the Senate. Our Matt Cradell talked to the sponsor there, Joseph Adabo, this week, who, there's a blame game. It's hard to tell who's exactly supporting mobile betting and who's not. We know the assembly in general is opposed to mobile betting. It sounds like the governor and his office may have softened a little bit thanks to some legal opinions that were presented to them. But whether or not the governor's office is on board, there's big problems getting this through the assembly. The speaker is not a fan of this. He's worried about the impact on the minority communities he represents. There's just not an appetite in the assembly for this like there is in the Senate. So this is mostly a non-update just to tell you that nothing is really moving right now. We have a couple more months to make laws in New York, but we are still in a holding pattern for mobile betting. Not
related at all, but there's day baseball going on as we were getting ready to tape this podcast, and the Mets were playing. It was the Mets feed that I was watching, and right in the middle of the Major League Baseball broadcast, right in the middle of everything, Dustin, was a nice big New York Lottery commercial, a nice big New York Lottery logo, and it just makes you kind of shake your head because, there's if you want to talk about something that gets, they call it the poor people tax for some states with the lottery. And it's just kind of funny the position that some of these guys take.
Oh yeah, the lottery is, it's as far as return to players, the worst of any type of gambling. It does fund good projects in most every state, and as we've talked about here, it's a good source of revenue. But yeah, the moral police, if you have a lottery, is kind of out the window. That's why Alabama they can at least play that card. They don't have a lottery, right. But yeah, if you have a lottery and you're like trying to say, oh, hold up, we shouldn't expand gambling, like get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever. And one of the states we mentioned last week, Dustin, Iowa, what is going on there? Seems like things may be starting to come together.
Yeah, I mean, if we're handicapping who's closest to actually passing a new law, I guess. I mean, other than Eric seems convinced that his guys in North Carolina are going to get something passed, Iowa is the closest one. Just today, we had a bill passed a Senate committee. It's now on to the Senate floor. There are bills that are from both the House and Senate that are pretty far along. You listen to people on the ground there, and they seem to be like, okay, we got this. We're going to get this together. It doesn't mean things can't fall apart, but Iowa right now looks like it's, of any state, looks like it might be the closest to passing a sports betting law this year.
So we have gone over several states here. We've updated some of these states that we've talked about before. Where do we stand on April the 4th on 2019? Where do you think we will be when all is said and done on December 31st, 2019, as far as states that have taken a bet?
Have taken a bet that didn't take a bet before?
Yes.
We've got, I guess New York will, even though it's not mobile. Pennsylvania should have online betting, so that doesn't count. Oregon, I'm still pretty convinced we'll do it here. Arkansas almost certainly. And then, out of the states that have I don't know if even Iowa or any of these other states will have retail sports betting up even this year. I guess I'm kind of doubtful. I mean, maybe one or two of them will if they pass laws. So if we're saying maybe, I don't know, best case scenario, like 3 or 4 more states pass laws, like 1 or 2 of them maybe retail sports betting. So, and then we have DC too, which should have retail sports betting in theory up and running. So I don't know what, if you count all that up, we got 3, maybe 5 new states that'll take bets that did not take bets before.
Eric, will we get sports betting back in West Virginia?
Well, we still have limited retail betting. I will give you my guess. I think it'll be several months before we have another mobile betting app. There's been some rumblings that regulators are talking about approving some other platforms. I just don't see any encouraging signs for mobile betting in the near future there.
Well, a place that there is sports betting and there is mobile sports betting is New Jersey. And we were able to catch up with former state senator Ray Lesniak and talk about just everything that kind of went on in this entire process and how he was able to help get things across the finish line. So here's our conversation with Ray Lesniak.
All right, we're happy to welcome in former New Jersey State Senator Raymond Lesniak, who actually has a new book out. He's one of the driving forces behind both having online gambling and sports betting in New Jersey. His new book is called Beating the Odds, the Epic Battle That Brought Legal Sports Betting Across America. Thanks for coming on the podcast with us, Senator. I guess we still call you Senator, even though you're a former state senator.
Once a senator, always a senator.
Got it. Excellent.
I prefer to be referred to as New Jersey sports betting champion.
Okay. Well, we will always refer to that in stories and podcasts from now on. So tell us a little bit about the book. I mean, I know you haven't been out of politics too long, so this book came together pretty quickly.
Well, it was certainly easy to put together because ultimately it was a 12-year battle. The words just flew out of me because I was so much engaged in it over the 12 years. I don't know if you're aware of how it got started. It was when my law partner, former assemblyman and mayor, was placing some bets for himself and some friends in an organized crime-run sports betting operation. And he got involved in a sting. He got arrested. Charged with racketeering, horrible, terrible offenses. Charges were dropped. He was just betting for some friends and himself. They thought he was a runner and with the organization. But it just got me annoyed that he could have gotten on a plane, put a bet in on Las Vegas and done it legally. Yeah. So that started my journey. It took me 12 years to ultimately get to the Supreme Court, but we made it.
Yeah, and I guess now that we have legal sports betting in New Jersey and a lot of other places too, I mean, what's it like to be on the other side of that battle and actually see it coming to fruition?
Well, first of all, it was so great when I was able. I didn't get the opportunity to place the first legal bet in New Jersey because Governor Murphy cut in line. That's gubernatorial courtesy trumps senatorial courtesy. However, I did make the first winning legal bet on a sports event in New Jersey. He bet Germany to win the World Cup. This was a future bet. And I bet France and I collected. So I could say I made the first winning sports bet. It was great. What's great about it is, and the other motivating and driving force for me was that Atlantic City's casinos we're closing. We lost 5 casinos, 15,000 jobs. Our racetracks were teetering on extinction. Monmouth Racetrack, the Meadowlands would have closed in a couple of years. And what most people don't know is that New Jersey has more acres of horse farms than any state in the nation. So both our horse racing industry and our casinos, we needed new life, new blood, a boost in revenue. And I said sports betting could get the job done. And they're packed. Our casinos were packed. Our racetracks are packed. Monday, there'll be overflowing crowds in Atlantic City and our racetracks for the NCAA final tournament. So those jobs are coming back. That was a big part of what was driving me, and it's just a great victory over very, very tough odds, and that's why I named the book "Beating the Odds."
Yeah. I know the book is on pre-order now. Where will people be able to buy this book if they want to? And this is the first real book. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. No. Go ahead. I interrupted.
No, I'm just like, this is the first book about legal sports betting, I think, since PASPA fell. So I think there should be a lot of interest in this.
Well, I've had some very successful book signings at Monmouth Racetrack. I was at Resorts Casino for the Elite 8 games. I'll be at the Meadowlands for the final. Back to Monmouth Racetrack and some conferences in Boston and New Jersey. So it's available at my institute, the Lesniak Institute.org. Inexpensive, $15, but there are some great stories in here and some great pictures. It's an interesting read. I like it myself, and I've read it 1,000 times.
Senator, I don't know how quickly you're looking to write a second book here, but we have you might have some more legal fodder brewing at the federal level with the Wire Act situation. Obviously, we're watching the new interpretation. I'm sure you are as well. Can you just sort of tell us your reaction to that and maybe how involved you've been in the process so far in New Jersey?
You might guess that I've been pretty much involved in it.
Sure.
First of all, I sponsored internet gaming in New Jersey as well as sports betting. Again, as a revenue driver for our ailing casinos. And then Sheldon Adelson comes along and tries to shut it down. Justice Department gave Matt Whitaker, the acting attorney general, a gift going out the door. And, I expect to be, involved all the way in the litigation. Right now it's going on in New Hampshire. Not much is going to happen there. In New Hampshire, the casino industry is making a huge mistake by thinking that concentrating their efforts in this New Hampshire litigation for many reasons. New Hampshire is a lottery state. They don't care about sports betting. And neither does the judge hearing that case. We're not going to get a national injunction. I don't believe so. At some point in time, we're going to have to file here in New Jersey, and I expect to be right in the middle of it, representing the New Jersey legislature. Because basically what this DOJ new Wire Act opinion saying that the Wire Act applies to all gambling on the internet, not just sports betting. They're trying to shut us down, and would be terrible for all the great revenue that is brought to the state. And 80% of sports bets are made over the internet. Matter of fact, a lot of folks at the tracks and at the casinos, they're betting right in their seats on their phone rather than going up to the window. Whatever works, rather than have that money, which, as you know, was going offshore. There was like 1,700 offshore sites you could bet on. It's ridiculous for that money to go offshore. Sheldon Adelson is also making a big mistake. He believes that internet gaming drives revenue away from his brick and mortar casinos, and he just doesn't understand. Just like with horse racing, the new generation of folks, Generation X, millennials, they're not that keen on casino gambling. And internet gambling, they are. They enjoy it as well, and it's a new revenue source to keep his brick and mortar casinos open. We're going to beat them. They're not going to win. However, unfortunately, it's cast a cloud over our expansion opportunities with compacts with other states going international. Indeed, my prognosis, my estimate was that, or my prediction was that New Jersey will be the Silicon Valley of internet gaming, and we're certainly will reach that soon with sports betting as well.
Yeah, you're certainly heading in that direction. I guess to wrap up, are you at all surprised? I mean, we now have 8 states where there's some form of legal wagering, but there hasn't been a whole lot of actual new laws or states coming on board this year. Are you surprised with that lack of momentum, or is that not surprising just from your experience as a lawmaker and gaming expansions in general?
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised. I mean, I actually had testimony for the National Conference of State Legislators, which presumably represent states' rights against the federal intrusion on them. And this was 10 years ago now. I couldn't even get a resolution introduced to support my effort to repeal PASPA at the time. And that's when I ultimately had to start legal action. I'm shocked that Governor Cuomo, as a matter of fact, I met with Governor Cuomo soon after he was elected for the first time to get his support for my effort to my legal effort and my effort in Congress to repeal and to overturn the federal ban on sports betting, PASPA. He showed no interest at all, and now he's poo-pooing the revenue that New Jersey is getting and saying it's meaningless, it's insignificant. I'm unfortunately. That Governor Cuomo and others don't understand that it's not just a revenue raiser; it's a job producer. Again, thousands of jobs came back to Atlantic City as a result of sports betting. Thousands of jobs were saved at our racetracks as a result of sports betting. So, yeah, I am surprised, but then again. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they haven't seized upon the opportunity. But what we say to New Yorkers: come on down, place your bets at the Meadowlands. The weather's the pool is warm. We have a great state here. We welcome you to Meadowlands, Monmouth, and our casinos if New Jersey doesn't want you.
All right. Well, thanks for your time today, New Jersey sports betting champion Raymond Lesniak. We enjoyed the time, and we're looking forward to the book.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks for the call. Keep in touch.
Thanks, Senator.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Big thanks to the former state senator there for stopping by. And again, we look at New Jersey, and I think we continue to look at New Jersey as something that these other states should really, really take kind of a case study from here, Dustin. I mean, we beat the drum for one legalization, and certainly from a mobile side of things. And listen, yeah, a couple of bumps in the road since they've launched. But I mean, starting something from scratch and getting to where we are right now for as little trouble as has gone on over there. I mean, I think people can really kind of look at New Jersey and pattern some things off of these guys. Yeah,
we're going to talk about estimates not being hit, projections not being hit, but New Jersey, has done, really pretty well. You can quibble with, a little bit of a downturn in handle in February, but it's gone out kind of how everybody hoped. There's been a few hiccups here and there, but you're to the point where you can see that New Jersey is going to eventually surpass Nevada in terms of how much is wagered and how much money is generated from it. And when we talk about these other states, if you don't, maybe you should be looking at New Jersey, and that might even include Nevada too.
Absolutely, I think for sure. I keep throwing these subtle jabs over the Twitter machine at my friends here in Nevada and hoping that it will make any sort of difference. Apparently, I don't have a lot of influence because it has not to this date. That is for sure. Eric, this is something that we wanted to kind of wrap the podcast up with here this week, and something that started out with, it kind of was just in our bubble, and then it expanded pretty rapidly throughout mainstream media. I was getting Google notifications all over the place of people picking up the story that sports betting revenue is underperforming and that it's not meeting what everyone thought and all of this. And one of the things that you and Dustin have been very, very good about, and if you're listening to this and you have media or you are a lawmaker or anything like that, and you want to talk and have a conversation with some people who are pretty level-headed about this, I cannot recommend Eric and Dustin enough, because one of the things you guys have done is you've obviously beat the drum for legalization, but at the same time, you've tried to keep expectations under wraps here and not like throw out these astronomical numbers. And we laugh at the stuff whenever people are misquoting the difference between handle and revenue and all the different things like that. We saw this rash of articles here, Eric, that basically people are going after that sports betting is not performing as well as everybody said. But really, I think this is a case of just misrepresented expectations.
Yeah, this is from an AP article that really the facts aren't incorrect, but the bottom line, they really arrive at the wrong conclusion. The article is entitled "Most States Sports Betting Revenue Misses Estimates." As you talked about, it's really the estimates that are the problem. This comes out of Providence, Rhode Island, the AP up there, and Rhode Island is the one that probably made the biggest mess of this. Initial projections for them were $23.5 million in first year revenue. They later had to cut that in half when they delayed launch. They are about 4 months into operation and have made $150,000 of that initial $23.5 million. Things have been fine. The handle has been there. They've generated about $55 million in handle. There seems to be good traffic to the casinos. The problem is just the projection. You just can't get to that projection in a state like Rhode Island without mobile betting. This is where the case, I appreciate what you're saying about talking about these things in advance. We really haven't had good case studies to argue for what makes a good sports betting framework until New Jersey. And now we're seeing the results of mobile betting and a reasonable tax structure and the competition in the marketplace that are fostering the sort of numbers we're seeing out of that. Again, this has to do with the estimates just missing the mark without mobile betting.
And the other piece of this is that it's like, I understand, like, these are states and they're making a projection. Sports betting is a new thing, but it's just way too early to be saying sports betting is not performing like it's supposed to. Like, we literally just launched it in a bunch of these states. The full suite of it, like Pennsylvania and West Virginia, are supposed to both have full suite of online sports betting, and neither of them do. It's just not like, it's just not the right time to be like sounding alarm bells about sports betting revenue. We're into year 5+ of New Jersey online casinos, and if you had done the same thing back then, you probably would have been disappointed too. We've seen just consistent growth of that market, and you're going to eventually see the same with sports betting as it's marketed well, as the products get better, as people become aware of legal options. So, like, again, I understand the AP story. It's like Eric said, it's technically correct in that these estimates are meeting, but it's not. It does a disservice to what is going on, which is this is a brand new thing. People are feeling it out, and it's not fully launched really anywhere. And
I think it's fair to say as well, Eric, when we're looking at these numbers in Rhode Island, that look, the Super Bowl happened. The Super Bowl they're right there next to Patriot country, and the Patriots won the Super Bowl. And, you can draw a pretty clear line, a pretty straight line to the fact that they lost money on the Patriots. And I mean, that is kind of the nature of the beast here. And again, it's in such its infancy here that just the Super Bowl really, really skewed things.
Yeah, to Dustin's point, this is just basically too small a sample size. We only have a few months to work with here. One of them was Super Bowl month, which is great for handle, but as we know, books took a bath. That month pretty much erased, most of the profits that Rhode Island had made to date from sports betting. Like Dustin said, it's just too early. We're in most cases halfway through a single sports season of sports betting, and it's just too early to judge these markets.
Dustin, I think one of the things that Eric said as well, that if we could really drive home a point from this story here, is that if you're going to if you're going to put a number out there and you're going to throw a number out there as far as expected revenue from sports betting, if you are putting out a number and it does not include mobile wagering, pretty much whatever number you've put out is too high.
Oh, absolutely. The 23 million when it originally came out of Rhode Island, I just laughed. Two casinos with $23 million in revenue. Come on. Just like, it doesn't even like, I would love to have talked to the person who came up with that projection and then said that was a good idea. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So, I totally agree on all of that with Eric.
Yeah, I think if you look at this, I mean, again, we've talked about it from time. Not only is it just the convenience of being able to bet from home, but you also have the increased handle in the fact that you have in-game wagering, and we expect if we follow anything that we've seen overseas and in Europe and stuff, that in-game is only going to become more popular here. It is only going to get bigger. The casinos, the sportsbook sites certainly think that there's a growth potential there because they try to push it. They're like, hey, place an in-game wager, we'll give you a free wager and things like that. So, there's just so many ways that you can fall short if you are not taking advantage of mobile.
And there's other pieces of this that you throw out the window. Like, you look at these sports books and there's people coming in. And if you're not overwhelmed by the retail sports book and the revenue and handle there, that's just, you go to Ocean Resort Casino and that sports book's packed. That's packed with people who are not going to Ocean Resort Casino otherwise. They're there for the sports book. Maybe they go to a restaurant. Maybe they go play some table games or some slots. So that's ancillary traffic and business that you wouldn't be getting about the sports book. You also have, we just did a story at Online Poker Report today about FanDuel being and its parent company Paddy Power Betfair being excited about the online sportsbook driving traffic to its Betfair online casino. They're really bullish on that. The fact that they're cross-selling to that. There's all these other little pieces of it that if you're looking at sports betting in a vacuum, I think you're also doing a disservice to what you're analyzing.
And if you're a lawmaker looking to legalize sports betting, the unfortunate reality of politics is that a lot of it centers around revenue. You're not going to get a lot of bills through that don't have a tangible fiscal impact on the state. But lawmakers would do well to really look past the tax revenue. That is not the primary goal of legalized sports betting. It's about the things Dustin talked about, the ancillary benefits for the casinos. It's about protecting the consumers, things like that. The tax revenue is nice and an unfortunate part of the lawmaking process, but it really is, the fifth or sixth benefit down the list.
Yeah, we have Iowa today. We have a lawmaker who pulled the online sports betting part out of a bill. Actually, that was Indiana, right? Sorry, getting my Midwestern states mixed up. Indiana pulled out online sports betting because he's not sure we can do consumer protections right. He's not sure there's really that much of a black market. But yeah, you got you're trying sports betting, integrity, all these buzzwords, this stuff is going on whether you legalize it or not. That's the point. Is trying to capture that market, make sports better, give people a legal option, actually provide consumer protections that offshore books aren't. I could list 10 reasons really quickly and we've named a bunch of them why you should legalize sports betting far outside of just revenue, which is great, and I want states to make money off of it, but it's just one piece of the puzzle, or should be.
Guys, as always, you can find all these updates. You can find all the stuff we have at our myriad of sites we have, of course, LegalSportsReport.com, OnlinePokerReport.com, the lines, etc. So be sure and go and get the full details of all this stuff in written form on those sites. For Dustin, for Eric, I am Matt. We will see you guys next week.